Just send me that link when you got it.
No.
Okay. Mm. Tweet that. Copy. And good.
Alright, I just gotta add these hashtags. Oh,
Let me open the chat. I'm dead. Fucking Nathan. He's here. He just said big dog.
what's up, Nate?
What's up?
Welcome back to the channel. So, okay, just gotta add a thumbnail. Here's a never-ending sequence, ladies and gentlemen.
Checking everything. So, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm just adding the hashtags now.
Alright, cool.
Okay, I just gotta add the thumbnail. We are about good.
Alright, cool.
Alright.
Alright, cool.
Let's refresh, make sure we got the thumbnail. And we should be about good. What's the time?
And we are at 5:17.
Cool. Took us 5
Just.
minutes this time.
Yeah.
Alright, the thumbnail's good. Let's pull the chat and we are good. Oh god. Cool. I sound like a dweeb. What's up, Nate? Nate's probably the only one here. It's all good though. Welcome back.
Welcome back, man.
And let's get started. Okay. Well, first I'm gonna invite him to the party. And then we'll get started. Got 4 in the chat. What's going on, guys? Welcome back, or if this is your first time, let us know.
Yeah, let us know if this is your first time.
Alright.
Ready, and I'm joining. Alright, I'm in.
Alright, good game. Oh shit, wrong one. Okay.
Alright, cool.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, guys? It is I, Johnny Mayhem, and Sir K, back.
What's up?
Part 1 of episode 4 of the Notorious podcast. And, on this edition, we will be doing, fantasy booking. So, yeah. Oh god. Yeah, we'll be doing fantasy booking. We'll be fantasy booking Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Kind of like the Broken Universe thing. And then we'll be fantasy booking Undertaker versus The Fiend. So what is up, Sir K? How are you doing?
So man, I'm doing great. Pretty good week so far since the last episode. How are you doing?
Pretty good, hanging in there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Not too bad. Sorry, guys. Suffering some minor distractions here.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It's all good. We'll get to it in a second. We just gotta
apologize. 1 second. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, this is really choppy. I'm being distracted by other things.
Sources.
Okay. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Cool. Again, now that I can do this fluently. Okay. Okay. What is up, guys? It is I, Johnny Mayhem, and the Notorious Sir K, back with another episode of the Notorious Hills podcast. This is our... See, if it's episode 4... Well, we did 1. Plus the breaking news, it's 2. Another 2. This is like our 7th time doing this, I think? Something like that?
I think something like that, yeah.
Anyway. So, I don't know. We're back with episode 4 of the Notorious Hills podcast, and on this episode, this is our themed type ones, and this one is our fantasy booking episode, which is our fantasy booking episode. Like I said, Sir K, you want to explain what we're doing?
Yeah, fantasy booking episode. This week we have 2 fantasy bookings. We're each doing the same one. It's how we would book it, our version, each other. And like I said, there's 2 of them. The first one is The Fiend versus Matt Hardy. How we would book that whole idea. And the second one is, of course, the Broken Universe, and the second one is The Fiend versus The Undertaker. Two dream matches in themselves, so technically they both already happened, but not to their full potential, so
For
that's why
sure.
we're here today, so definitely, man.
For sure, yeah. Very excited about this. I'm very excited about this episode. Obviously, I've been waiting to do the fantasy booking for an extremely long time, and
Oh, yeah, man.
yeah, definitely anticipated for me. Hope you guys are anticipating it too. Yeah, and like you said, very excited about doing this. Obviously, two dream scenarios. Obviously, they how they did, how they kind of, well, not kind of, how they fucked up the broken,
Yeah.
the broken, um, the broken universe. Obviously, I don't really know what that's a fantasy booking for, because is it? I don't know. I just kind of call it the broken universe. Or the
Yeah.
Fiend and Matt Hardy, Bray and Matt Hardy. However you want to,
Yeah.
word it. Basically, they fucked that up tremendously, and we will get over that before we kick this off. And obviously, the Fiend's character, so synonymous. Obviously, it's kind of his gimmick for getting
Exactly. Getting
and
revenge, basically.
and yeah. I mean, so obviously, one of the main characters in that whole involvement is the Undertaker. Obviously, he wronged Bray. He buried
He
him
did.
again
He
after
buried.
WrestleMania 30, just sticking the knife in more, if you will.
Oh, yeah, he
Um,
really did.
so um, obviously that match for me and Sir Kerry, I hope it
Oh, yeah.
happens, but not
Nope.
in a personally, regardless on how I fantasy booked it, I would personally kind of do something like that in a cinematic, only because that is the only I would want to see Undertaker wrestle. Um,
Yeah, I
but
swear.
yeah, but personally, I kind of would just leave it as a what if because it would just been so more important with the streak and
Yeah.
I mean I'd love to see it, but if I were to prefer one, some things I think are just meant to be what ifs.
What ifs?
Um,
Yeah,
and I think that that's
definitely.
one of them. So yeah,
That's true, man.
we will take a minute here and get a game started up. And while we do that, you guys, since we can't decide, you guys decide which one we want to do. We're gonna do first. Um,
Yeah, you guys tell us which one.
so because I'm excited for both of them, but in the meantime, we'll get a game.
Yes, definitely.
Get a game, obviously.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
So while we do that, just a little side topic. Again, if anybody joined, um, and never mind, we got our first topic. Okay, I was gonna bring up something, but a little minor topic. We'll just save it for the news on Friday.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I'll go first. I'll go first. All right, let's get this
All right,
going.
all right. Yeah.
Okay, now obviously we don't start these with um we don't start these right off the bat with the fantasy bookings. Although thoughts on Rey Mysterio? What is he doing? Oh, he's in the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Rey, he's doing good. He's putting people over. He's not really one of those legends that comes in and just buries everybody. He puts a fair share
He's
amount of
not good, though.
people over. I like Rey. I like Rey. He's
Yeah.
good. He's doing good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bray and Broken Matt. Obviously, just a brief rundown of what happened. Obviously, Matt came into WWE, pretty much spent the fair part of a year and a half, I believe,
Yes.
or like a good. 8-9 months being a Team Extreme Matt Hardy, which obviously WWE always likes to pull the nostalgic dollar on all of us.
Oh yeah. I
But
love it, man.
yeah, but they like to pull out the nostalgic dollar on all of us and give us just things that aren't needed at the time. I think that broken shit was just taking off, and um,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely wasn't needed. Team Extreme
No.
Matt definitely was not needed when you had a gimmick that was at its hottest point, and you could
Yeah.
have seemingly brought that into your company and just stole money away from independent promotions. They brought him back as an installment of the old Hardy Boys tag team when the night before they were wrestling the Young Bucks in a ladder match, Broken Hardys versus the Young Bucks. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Um, and basically what ended up happening was on an episode of Raw, Bray defeated Matt, normal Matt, and
Yeah.
after that, Matt Hardy seemed to kind of snap in the ring. Obviously, basically kind of painting the picture of what was to come. Obviously,
Yeah.
he would start his whole broken persona, challenging Bray Wyatt, and these two would cut promos on each other, which were good, very anticipated, obviously. But then,
Right.
it quickly turned into a laugh fest. These two just
Basically, man.
laughing back and forth and making absolute fools out of themselves. Even though Broken Matt is not a serious gimmick,
No, but
it
it's
doesn't have to be repetitive comedy. Like, I can see if you did that skit
yeah,
once, because it's funny. But
exactly.
when you
Yeah, it
post
can be funny.
10-hour clips of it on YouTube and do everything to just stab that shit right in the fucking gut, um,
Yeah,
which they did perfectly. They fucked that
basically.
up.
Killed
The,
it.
yeah, just killed it. And in a bad way. In a Nia Jax type way. Basically, what would happen is exactly that. These guys would have laugh fests on Raw for like it just every single week it felt like, and it was just really
Yeah,
annoying
it's
and
just
nauseating. What were you saying?
yeah. Yeah, it was just comedy garbage, man. They just made him too much of a joke.
Yeah, and it
Like
was exactly what everybody didn't ask for, pretty much. Like
exactly.
one thing, one thing that you'll see in my fantasy booking is I don't like how they took Matt Hardy's like House Hardy vignette
Yeah,
things away from him. Like
swear.
you hear Matt talk about his his vision for the gimmick was to like save his body, so he
Mm,
wouldn't have to wrestle every week, and he can film these vignettes, and people would be satisfied, and he would like I said, he would film those, and people would be satisfied with that, and he wouldn't have to wrestle as much and take these extreme Hardy like bumps and then that's kind of
exactly.
exactly what WWE had him do. Not these extreme Hardy bumps, but he was always on TV and doing this extreme
Yeah,
stuff.
always
It's
doing
like,
some shit.
yeah, and it's like that's that wasn't like he said on the Talk is Jericho. He's in 4-minute matches on Raw, in tag team matches
Yeah,
with him and Bray, and it's not doing anything for him or Bray. Um,
exactly.
and it just turned to just nauseating to the point where it just basically WWE doing what they do best and making things that are so special feel like everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He just Matt Hardy went from being his own crazy thing to just being this weird guy that laughs, just this deranged guy. Which how many deranged
yeah,
characters do they have? They had Ambrose at the time, they had Wyatt, they had Rowan. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like he
It
just
made no sense.
became right another deranged weirdo.
Yeah, Eric. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, like I said, WWE just doing what they do best, making people feel like everybody else, and and yeah, basically after that, uh, it would culminate in a basically just lights out, lights on type segments where lights would go out and Wyatt would be there, lights would go out and Hardy would be there. Basically, this all building to a ultimate deletion. And when that happened, personally, I liked it. I don't, I don't think it was fantastic on the level of some of his decay shit, like Delete or
Oh my god,
Decay,
no.
but it was good. I liked it. I think,
That seemed fun.
yeah, it was good. They teleported to Wyatt's house. Matt Hardy just doing his goofy shit. But at the end of the day, and I just figured this out the other day, I went to go back and watch it on the WWE Network, and they edited it out of Raw, because it was in the main event spot, and they edited it out of that episode of Raw, and obviously, you hear stories about how, um, everybody backstage. What's the new gimmick you'd give Matt Hardy? What's a new gimmick I'd give Matt Hardy? I like what he's.
No.
I like that other glimpse he showed of himself on AEW with the leather
Yeah, I like
jacket,
what
just kind of this battered veteran, just that's just
yeah,
been to hell and
heel
back.
side.
Yeah,
Exactly. I
I
dig it.
like that. I like that a lot. I think if anybody can make it cool, it's Matt. I mean, the guy, he's just so fucking
Oh,
creative.
most definitely.
So, yeah, I'd probably give him something like that and kind of have him evolve it into his own character. But, you hear stories, like I was saying, about how when they watched the Ultimate Deletion the day it was going to air in the production meeting, when it was done, everybody stood up and gave it a standing ovation, and Vince McMahon was just sitting there because he didn't get it.
Yeah, confused.
Um, that's what I think. I think like a lot of people that strictly watch WWE just don't know how to have fun with anything.
Yeah,
It
they
just
really don't.
yeah, WWE is just a company that just takes themselves way too seriously. But when they want to do comedy, it's so overdone and forced and obnoxious. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you
Like
can't play the same sides.
exactly. So um. Yeah, so that's pretty much how that ended up culminating with an ultimate deletion, and like I said, I liked it. What were your thoughts on it, bro?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't one of the better ones, but it wasn't god awful or nothing. It was
Right.
enjoyable at the time.
Hmm.
Probably the best thing you're gonna get out of Vince. So I dig it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right. Lucky he even let it air because apparently they had a hard time even getting Matt kind of on the kind of on the
Yeah,
uprights with that gimmick. And
yeah.
basically, they would do a Ultimate Deletion in March. Personally, I would have saved it for Mania.
Most
Obvious,
definitely.
that's just my opinion though. But they always like to use the excuse, well, the live audience doesn't do well with those aired things. Yeah, but for Matt Hardy, you obviously you're in Mania. You have enough big a Titantron where everybody can see it. Obviously, you're in a football
Yeah.
stadium. And for Matt Hardy though, if you did it right, it would have been so enjoyable. Like people in WWE like that shit. Like
Yeah.
people were probably confused as fuck at first if they don't know about it, but like, um, yeah, I mean, also in WWE, it's so gay how they do turns.
Oh my god, I hate it
Like
so annoying.
listen, Matt, you've been doing Extreme Hardy for how long, and you've lost how many times, and just a random singles match with Wyatt on Raw breaks you. Like
Yeah, like why?
I like how Matt did it on Impact where he takes the big fall and he messes something up in his head, and
Yeah,
that's what sparks it. You know what I mean? It's not just a random
exactly.
loss on Raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and basically, he dumps Bray in the lake, and basically, Matt goes on to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 34, which Wyatt returned to help him win. Not dressed in white or in broken clothes or anything. Just Bray
No,
Wyatt clothes.
just acting more happy.
Just yeah, just babyface, pretty much.
Yeah,
Well said, and that's pretty much how they brung him back. And after that,
basically.
he would just be not even Broken Bray. Just he would just call him Brother Bray, and
Yeah,
um, these two he basically would just be Happy Bray. And turning him instead of turning him like Light, you know what I mean, like just wear
yeah,
broken clothes or anything, they keep him as a dark entity, and they have them
yeah,
be the light in the dark. Like that was the whole point of them being enemies, not allies.
yeah,
When they're allies,
exactly.
Bray is supposed to turn to lighter, like Matt,
Yeah,
not a dark soul. Just didn't make any sense. I just,
it really didn't.
I mean, like, cool little catchphrase, the light in the dark, whatever, but it just did not make any sense. It, like,
Exactly.
he basically, what did he do? He dumped him in the lake to turn, what is it, the Lake of Turns, or is it the Lake of Reincarnation? Um,
Exactly.
and basically that's what they did. They kept him as kind of this dark entity in Matt's world, and nothing ever came of it other than a brief tag title run that they ended up losing to the B team. Um, and obviously, if you guys watched Talk Is Jericho, you know they were seemingly just taken off television because WWE creative got tired of them giving ideas and pitching things.
Yeah, exactly.
So they got tired of pitches, and they just took them
Took
off
him off
TV out of
TV.
spite
Yep.
for the B team. So and then obviously that would literally go nowhere. Obviously, Matt would come back not broken anymore, or Woken, and and Bray would return, um, about 10 months later, debuting the Firefly Funhouse. So,
Basically, yeah.
how I would book it, I'm about to tell you. So,
I see, right?
how we start my booking off, just a little bullet points. Before we get into this feud will be culminating at WrestleMania 34 with an Ultimate Deletion. Like as far as the pre-build, I would definitely have. You could have really did anything. You could have had these guys in a match at SummerSlam and have Bray just take Matt. You could have had Bray take Matt to his Wyatt compound and that mentally fuck him up to be broken. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just because of the torture, obviously, but it's a little too TV-14. But if I'm booking it, that's what we're doing. Matt gets dragged. That's how it gets started. Matt gets taken out at yeah. You could do. I would probably do it at the December pay-per-view. Or the November, probably Survivor Series, and
Hmm.
I would have Bray take Matt away. We don't really see Matt, um, and Bray obviously reveals that he still has Matt, and they torture him at the Wyatt compound, and they just mentally fuck Matt up, and
Yeah.
he that just breaks him, and then when he does escape, he's able to embrace his brokenness. Um, So this feud will be culminating at WrestleMania 34 with an Ultimate Deletion, a vignette video, Matt Hardy style type thing. Yes. Ultimate Deletion, WrestleMania 34 in front of 80,000 people. No better way to get eyes on it instead of just doing it on a random episode of Raw in the third hour, which
Yeah.
nobody watches any fucking way.
Slam.
Next thing you know, obviously, it ends the same exact way. Bray is thrown in the lake of reincarnation. And
Mm-hmm.
now, the lake is going to come into play in a little bit. However, obviously, so next up I have, if you guys watch Talk is Jericho, Matt mentioned how he wanted to have Bray Wyatt show up as like a hobo, kind of with a stick, with a bandana, and show up to his house as like this cleansed human being. He's not evil anymore. Now, I would have him look the same for reasons, and that is because Bray Bray has a step ahead of Matt. He is cleansed, but he's not entirely showing it yet. So he looks the same. Big beard, dreads, obviously like he normally had.
Yeah.
And he would show up as Hobo Bray at the Hardy compound and become a lovable character over a number of months, obviously through the summer. Through the summer, we would be
Mm-hmm.
building Bray up as a lovable character, just another broken character that just gets over his shit, obviously, as we've seen with the popularity of Brother Nero, obviously. If anyone's gonna get him over, Matt'll have him fight a couple fucking kangaroos and he'll be over in no time. Um,
Not bad.
we have House Hardys, which is what I refer to them at. I believe that's what they're actually called as well. But basically, if you guys don't know, House Hardy is the vignettes he posts.
Yeah.
In his backyard or at zoos or wherever. House Hardys. So we have a series of House Hardys building Bray and Matt up, obviously. Just building those two up as friends. And this would culminate in a brief tag team championship title run. After that, Matt declares that he wants to procure his prophecy, his universal prophecy, challenging him for a Universal Championship match at SummerSlam. Obviously, these guys are on the Raw brand, and the Raw brand at the time had the Universal Championship. Matt goes on to win the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, um, and he would be holding the Universal Championship and the Tag Team Championships still with Bray Wyatt. Just legitimizing that group and letting people know, like, this isn't the same Matt Hardy who's been living in Jeff's shadow. This is a new Matt, a superstar of his own Matt. Obviously, they won't word it like that, but you know what I mean. He's basically going to be solidifying himself as a superstar. Obviously, and not just Jeff's
Mm-hmm.
brother, which is what so many people look at him as. So, Matt, this is where we will start to see the very unnoticeable. You guys are going to start to see how unnoticeable I make this, but obviously a very unnoticeable cracks in the Shield. But it's going to be so unnoticeable, it's going to look like nothing ever happened. Matt Hardy
Mm-hmm.
successfully defends after Hell in a Cell. Obviously, we're getting. I feel like I didn't need to book this month by month, pay per view by pay per view, because Matt is just the kind of guy who will do Matt Hardy shit. Obviously, having him fight
Yeah.
kangaroos and being funny and doing little skits, obviously, and having matches with the likes of people who were on Raw at the time, that being Seth, Dean, Miz, um, not to name anybody in particular, but just having matches, defending his championship against just the best that that brand had to offer at the time. Finn,
Yeah.
um, Lashley had just came back. I wouldn't do that though. Obviously, you have to save Lashley for the whole Lesnar feud. If I'm booking it, but
Yeah.
so, just kind of just the top people on Raw. Matt successfully defends after Hell in a Cell when he's filming at House Hardy and he stumbles across King Maxwell watching a puppet show, and Maxwell loves it, absolutely loves it, just like he does in real life. If you guys watch the Talk of Jericho again, Maxwell is a huge fan of this puppet show, obviously. Matt is very confused, kind of like, what are you watching? Obviously, he doesn't say it, but he kind of just looks a little confused, like, okay. But, however, he does not pay too much attention to it, as he is too busy doing Matt Hardy things, such as, like I said, having people fight kangaroos and calling giraffes George Washington. Matt Hardy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really pay too much mind to it. And yeah, basically, that is kind of where we start to see very unnoticeable cracks. Obviously, nothing really too much happened, but obviously, in the long haul, it's going to pay dividends to the future. Obviously,
Yeah.
we'll get to that.
Definitely.
Couple months later, well, about a month later, Matt Hardy is filming yet again another House Hardy when he suddenly is standing outside of his house and he sees a silhouette of a person in the window with a loud screeching noise coming from in the house, and it's very loud.
Yeah.
Matt enters the house to suddenly hear the noise stop. And what he finds inside is Bray Wyatt and King Maxwell watching the puppet show, laughing, having a good time, as if nothing wrong was ever happening. Matt Hardy looks very, obviously, shooken up. He asks what the ringing was in a broken way. You know, what was the ringing, pretty much, in a broken way.
Yeah.
And they seem to proceed with watching their puppet show. Matt Hardy, months later as well. Obviously, the reason I'm doing these month later is because you cannot do this every week, because it becomes way too apparent that Bray Wyatt
Yeah.
is behind something. So, we got a lot of time. We can space this thing out, right? We got a lot of time. We can space these out and make these very unnoticeable cracks in the shield, like I said.
Yeah.
Months later, a House Hardy episode. Matt is in his kitchen, probably talking about his food in a weird way, in a broken way. You know, just random, off the wall Matt Hardy things. When he suddenly hears a razor.
Yeah.
A hair razor.
Yeah.
Matt obviously gets excited at the sound and wants to go see what is going on. Matt goes in to a room and sees Bray Wyatt standing there, but it's not dark Bray Wyatt, if you will. He wasn't dark the whole time, but dark looking Bray Wyatt. Big beard, big
Yeah.
long dreads, whole head covered with dreads. Bray.
Yeah.
He sees a Bray Wyatt with a smaller beard. The sides of his head shaved. Different.
Yes. Very different.
First thing Matt notices, there's no hair on the ground. Bray's just standing there smiling. Matt asks Bray where his broken follicles are, and Bray proceeds to tell Matt it's all gone. He took him away. Matt
Oh,
seemingly doesn't
shit.
seem to look too into this, and he starts celebrating with Bray over being broken. Whatever. Bray starts to act a little more distant than usual, to the point where if you really paid attention, you can see it. I'm never gonna make this too noticeable. Just
Yeah.
little things like, instead of Bray looking in the camera, they're filming the vignette off. He'll kind of be staring off into space. You'll catch him staring off into space. Just a little more distant with being broken.
Yeah.
However, with all these months we've gone by, Matt Hardy is filming a House Hardy episode around Mania time, and not too by Mania time, I'd give it around like February, when he notices Skarsgård, the dilapidated boat, floating in the lake with a beaming light coming from the boat. But it's dark, I'd have it be dark, but like, there's definitely no lighting being used. Like, it's kind of like sunsetting, so you could still see what's going on,
Yeah.
but you can't really make out things. You know what I mean? Like, for anybody that's ever played basketball, when you're playing basketball and you start to not see the ball anymore, but you could see the hoop. Basically, you could make out things, but you can't see what they actually are. Right. He notices Skarsgård with a beaming light in it, and the boat is slowly inching back to shore. Matt, as soon as the boat comes back to shore, because Matt is possessing it to do so, going, yeah, Matt Hardy stuff.
Yeah.
And the boat is coming near him. Vanguard 1 suddenly flies into frame, and a hologram pops up. And it's a little staticky at first. And it's a turned head. And as soon as the head turns around, you can make out it's Bray Wyatt. Hologram pops up and says to Matt, Bray laughing, Matt's laughing with him, and the face on the hologram starts to suddenly fade away. Well, the smile on the hologram, starts to suddenly fade away. And Bray says, "It's about time to let me in." Matt looks a little confused when he sees when Matt seems a little confused at the hologram when he notices the boat is back to shore, and he notices what's on the boat. The beaming light coming from the boat is the Bray Wyatt decapitated lantern.
Yeah.
Now, as Matt looks at it, you kind of see this look on Matt's face as if he kind of realizes what Bray had did to his old self. But he didn't understand the full extent of it until he feels a hard breathing coming behind him. There stands the Fiend at the Hardy compound, right behind Matt Hardy. Bray attacks Matt. The Fiend attacks Matt, ending the brawl, winning the brawl. Obviously, he can't lose a brawl. By putting the boat over Matt and smashing the boat with his giant mallet, which I think they should use way more. Because I love that thing is badass as shit. Later on, obviously Matt Hardy is fuming over this betrayal of Bray Wyatt, and Matt wants to obviously go find Bray. So he wants to go find him. He wants to know what that was. So Matt Hardy takes Vanguard 1 and has Vanguard 1 teleport him to the burnt down Wyatt house, the same house that Randy Orton burned down, let's see, what is this, like a year prior. Was this like 20?
Yeah.
Oh no, this is 2019 at that point. Like 2 years prior to this. So Matt goes to this this burnt Bray Wyatt house, and he busts the door down, and quickly he notices how it looks on the outside is completely different from how it looks on the inside, because on the inside we see a well-furnished, well-put-together, happy house with
Yeah.
light blue walls and puppets all around it. And
That's right.
quickly, Matt notices this is the puppet show that Maxwell had been watching with Bray for months at this point. Months.
Mm-hmm.
Matt does not find Bray Wyatt inside. However, the television in the funhouse comes on, and it's staticky, and then pops up a WrestleMania 35 logo.
Mm-hmm.
Bray Wyatt pops up on the television challenging Matt for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. Matt Hardy agrees and trashes the place. He agrees as long as it means he can get his hands on Bray. But Bray tells
Yes.
Matt, I just want you to know you're not facing me. He's here to protect me, and he was so glad he got the chance to meet you. All he wants to do is take everything else away from you, being his Universal Championship.
Yeah. Yes.
We go into WrestleMania. By this point, we are at WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Hardy gets destroyed by The Fiend at WrestleMania, making Bray a bona fide star. And also,
Yeah.
I would have this kind of be where Matt is on his transition out of the company, at
Yeah.
least just to take him off TV, because I don't see a point in I don't see a point in bringing him back after that. That is
Yeah.
the culmination to the Dream storyline, and it ended exactly how it was right to end it. Matt gets beaten by the Fiend, breaking Matt's universe, pun intended, taking away the Universal Championship. As soon as I mentioned when Bray started to be kind of distant, but you couldn't really notice it, they would go on to lose the tag team championships to an up and coming NXT team, whether it be the Revival at the time, and NXT coming up, it was the Revival, AOP. They ended up kind of just losing them due to their chemistry not being as good as it usually was.
Yeah.
Obviously, I just forgot to mention that accidentally. My eyes just rolled over that bullet point. I would lead this to having Matt Hardy's contract be up, and this would make perfect sense, which then obviously leading him to the rebirth of what we're seeing now of this Damascus persona. It's his rebirth because the Fiend
Yeah.
destroyed him. So instead of having the white gash, he could do what he does now and have the red gash, obviously, and just have the Fiend mentally fuck him up even more.
Yeah.
And that's how I would book it, and that's how the Fiend would take the championship from Matt Hardy, taking everything from him. Obviously, you have so many layers to it with him, with Bray, obviously with the Firefly Funhouse being demographically towards kids, you Maxwell is key to this, and
Yeah, definitely.
I would have Bray take everything from Matt, obviously, like I said, and have so many layers to it to where Matt is Matt is having Bray manipulate him. He's fucking with his kids. He's fucking with his family. And on top of all that, which is the most personal you could get with a man, which is very relatable, he wants the championship too.
Yeah.
So there's so many layers to it. And obviously, what I tried to do with this is it all boils down to this being Bray Wyatt. So
Yeah.
having him be so mysterious that the turn comes at a time where you definitely see seeds being planted for it, but Bray is such
Hmm.
a master manipulator, he was able to hide it for as long as he could until his soul couldn't take it anymore. And now
Yeah.
it also comes into the Lake of Reincarnation, because it did reincarnate Bray. You just didn't see it until his soul
Exactly.
couldn't take it anymore. Because we're using the Lake of Reincarnation as a way to reincarnate Bray in a way that and use the Lake of Reincarnation in a way where this is way stronger than Matt ever thought. And
Yeah.
also thought reincarnation can be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing.
So, yeah,
In this
really
case,
cool.
and 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 it obviously for the fans it's for good, but for Matt, he reincarnated a side of Bray that Bray has been so scared into because of Abigail.
Definitely.
Um, and that's the psychology behind how I would book it, and
Yeah.
that is pretty much how we would use everything and the layers to this story. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. But what are your thoughts, Sir K? While we give people the time to comment, what did you think?
I really liked it. I like the psychology you put into it. It makes a lot of sense about why and the how. I really dig it. That was some good shit, man.
Thank you, thank you.
It was.
Yeah,
Definitely, bro.
yeah. So while we let the people comment, is there anything you want to any bullet points before yours you want to get out, like just things that the people should know before you explain it?
Oh yeah. This story also has the same time frame as yours, like from the Ultimate Deletion to Mania 34. Mine is the same like time period,
You mean 35?
basically. Yeah, 30. Yeah, 35. I forgot which Mania it happened, but
Yeah, it
it
gets all
would
fucking confusing.
I swear to God,
I
man.
think too it's
But
because 2017 and 2018 feel
like the
like
same year.
just yesterday.
I swear,
It
man, they
feels
really do.
it's like the time just goes by so quick. I'm like, wait, was Ultimate Deletion around 33 or 34?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
thought it was around 34. I guess it wasn't.
Time flies. Oh, the Ultimate Deletion was around 34. It was like a month
Oh,
before it.
oh, okay, cool, cool.
All right, keep going.
Okay. Alright, any other bullet points? I'd say that's it, really. That's all the bullet points I got. Like,
All right,
pretty
take it
sweet.
away. Take it away, my friend. Let's hear it.
Alright, so starting right at the end of the Ultimate Deletion, as Bray Wyatt was thrown into the Lake of Reincarnation, that's the end of the Ultimate Deletion, as we all know. But I say about 3 weeks afterwards, I think that's a good time frame, we get a House Hardy segment. And it starts with them cleaning up the aftermath of like the whole event. And as Matt's cleaning up, he's cleaning up around the lake, and he sees like wet footprints leading into the forest. And he's wondering, he's confused about it. He might have a dark thought about what could be happening. So basically, and then he's examining the forest, but then Maxwell runs up to him to show him what he found, and he shows him some old tattered up Hawaiian shirt. It's got a sleeve missing, it's all fucked up. And that's the end of that segment. Matt ends on a confused and a little concerned note, but that's how that little segment ends. And then a couple weeks, maybe a month later, they have just a couple other more like you could say back to normal segments in their house, which we know what normal is in their house, but you know what I mean. Just normal broken hearted shit. Let me see. All right. Yeah, and then, I gotta say a month after, like maybe a month later, Maxwell and Wolfgang are talking to Hardy on the House Hardy segment about how they have been having some nightmares lately, and some nightmares about some man in the woods. And hold on. I have terrible handwriting, ladies and gentlemen. They talk about having some nightmares of a man in the wood, and Matt Hardy reassures them that they're
A man in the wood.
a man in the woods, a man in the woods, and a man in the wood. He's not a sexual predator. A man in the woods. And yeah, and Matt Hardy reassures them, telling them that they're safe within the confines of the Hardy house. So, yeah, they explain that they've just been having nightmares about some man in the woods. And they're really, like, just scared. They're really kind of distant. And then a couple episodes.
I'm sorry, the man in the wood just got weird.
So hard as Wyatt. Fuck, man.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Alright, I apologize. Keep going.
Alright. Like I say, like 3 weeks after that segment, we get a segment in the Hardy house where they're having dinner. But you notice that, and Matt Hardy and Rebby notice that Maxwell's not eating. He's just sitting there doing something. So they ask him what he's doing, and he doesn't even like pay attention to them. He's so focused on what he's doing. But then they're like, "All right, like, what are you doing?" And then they say it again, and he picks up the plate and he shows, and it's the plate drawing that we've seen in the funhouse before. That plate drawing of the Fiend. But at the time, we don't know that it's the Fiend, and they're really creeped out and weird, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna call it now right there. Like they took the kids into bed, and they just like end the night on a very confused and creeped out note. And then a couple weeks later, in another House Hardy segment, Hardy's had enough of all this weird things that's been happening, so he just decides to check the forest out. So he goes in the forest, deep in the forest, and he finds an old house. He sees just this old tattered house, and when he walks into it, he notices it's got old tattered blue walls. It's got kids' toys all over the place. Looks like some like aunt that has all these kids just lived there for years, but it's been years abandoned. And he's walking around and he sees a door, and the door has this a cardboard writing on it, cardboard sign that says "Abandon all hope, he who enter here." A confused Matt Hardy just confused opens the door, and there's nothing behind. It's just a wall behind the door, and Matt Hardy's super confused, super creeped out. So he leaves the house. He goes back to his house, and when he gets back, he tells the kids and Rebby to not go in the woods. He forbids the kids from going in the woods for a while because he's clearly scared about something. He doesn't know what he's scared about, but he's scared about something. So that's where that segment ends. I say probably a month after that, um, Hardy is upgrading Vanguard 1. He's giving them a little upgrade for fun, and he gave them a thermal camera to see out of. He thought that would be a fun addition to Vanguard 1. So he launches Vanguard 1, and we could see what Vanguard sees. And as we see the thermal vision, he scans over the forest, and we just see just a silhouette of just something in the forest. And the thing in the forest, its eyes are brighter than the rest of its body. So he's just really like, and then Vanguard 1 starts making these like concerned beeping noises, and Vanguard 1 clearly starts like freaking out a little bit. Matt Hardy just thinks it's a malfunction in the camera, so he tells him to come back down. He takes him to see if there's anything wrong and just keep upgrading him. So that's where that segment ends. And then a couple weeks later, we see Matt go in the living room to see that the kids are there watching some TV show and they're like entranced in it. Some puppet show with a rabbit and a pig, as Matt Hardy sees. So he makes a comment that they've been watching the show forever, and ever since they started watching this show, they stopped complaining about their nightmares. And a couple weeks later, Matt Harley finally gets them to play, outside. He gets them to enjoy the outdoors and stop watching that puppet show that they were watching. And Wolfgang, playing around, he gets a cut on his arm. And Maxwell gets all excited, and he says he has a way to help him. So King Maxwell runs to the Lake of Reincarnation. He reaches in, he pulls out a glove that he said he's been put there for a while. He let it soak in there, apparently. And Rebby asks him what he's doing, and he says that he taught him this. Rebby, oh, yeah, so as we see Maxwell grip Wolfgang with the glove that was soaked in the lake around the cut on his arm, and then Rebby she's like, "What are you doing?" And that's when he says, he taught me this. So confused Rebby just takes Wolfgang to have him, clean up the cut. But when she takes him into the bathroom to like put a band-aid on it, she notices the cut's already gone, and she's clearly like really freaked out and confused, and you can tell she's concerned. So she just never meant. She just puts the band-aid on, acts like she's covering it up, tells Wolfgang to just go keep playing, and she doesn't even, tell Matt Hardy about what she just seen. She just says she just fixed him up, you know. And that's the end of, that segment. Uh, and a couple weeks later, we see another segment, and Matt Hardy finally decides, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna just watch this show that they've been so addicted to lately. And he starts to watch it with them, and the intro hits, the Firefly Funhouse intro, and then we just see Funhouse Wyatt, and it explains that in this episode, he's going to be teaching kids about dealing with the past and changing your future destiny. Hardy, scared Hardy turns around and tries to turn off the TV because he's so confused and so concerned and shocked. He tries to turn off the TV, but it won't turn off. And he yells at the kids to go to bed. He's like, "Go to bed." And his Matt Hardy ways, but a little more serious in the way he says it, because he's clearly concerned and confused. And then they trying to shut it off. The Firefly Funhouse just keeps on going until he finally unplugs the TV and it shuts off. And then Matt Hardy just calls it a night. He just takes Hardy to bed, and they're just like, you know what, I can't do with this. And a couple weeks later, it was announced that Matt Hardy requested a match on SmackDown because he said he wanted to get out of the house. He wants to take a breather from all the chaos that's been happening at the Hardy compound. So a couple weeks later on SmackDown, which is where I didn't actually add that bullet point, but my show or my booking takes place on SmackDown. But he goes out there to have a match. He hits his broken entrance, comes out there, is about to see who his opponent is, and the Firefly Funhouse intro plays. Matt Hardy gets confused and concerned again, and then we see it's kind of this way the Firefly Funhouse happens, kind of similar to the original Firefly Funhouse, it's kind of Bray introducing him being back, and he explains to Matt Hardy that after he threw him in the lake and he came out, he kept hearing the voices he heard his whole life, but they said different things now. They didn't just say um they didn't just say ramblings like they used to. He says they gave him a promise. They have a plan to fix him as long as he lets them in. And one voice in particular, he says that he promises to fix him as long as he lets them in. He said he did. He said now he no longer is consumed by those voices in his head. He doesn't, you know, all of that. He says that those voices that he had in his head, he gave them vessels. And he gave the voice in his head, the one that was telling him he could help him, he gave him the most biggest vessel he could of, his himself. And then Hardy yells at him to stay away from his kids. And of course, since technically the Firefly Funhouse is a pre-take segment, he doesn't, Wyatt can't directly talk back to him. But it's a little funny part where Wyatt says, well, you probably want me to stay away from your children, and I understand. I can't control what they watch, or if they, he said, but I can't control what they watch, or if they let him in. Only you can, Matt. And you clearly already made that choice. As Wyatt walks a little bit out of frame, out to the side, revealing the door with the same sign that Matt Hardy saw in the house that he explored. And then that's the end of Firefly Funhouse. And then concerned Matt Hardy starts like leaving the ring to go home, and that show goes off air. A couple weeks later, this is at Mania. This is at Mania. We see Hardy get back to his house, and it seems all good to him. He's the kids are quote unquote normal. They're still addicted to that show. They still got like the gloves, not the gloves, but like they're wearing gloves. They're just being the kids they were as before he left for SmackDown. Where he's fine, and then he's uh, so a concerned Matt Hardy runs back to the forest to see, what was up with that door. So he runs back to that house. He goes in that house, and he sees the door is still open. But the wall behind the door is gone, and he sees just emptiness, just darkness behind it. And the camera pans around to see in the entryway to the house, it's the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and they have a little stare down, and then they start brawling. They brawl inside the house to outside the old broken down house, and outside, um, the Fiend is having an upper hand until Vanguard 1, we hear him and then we see him, and then Matt Hardy gets all excited. He kind of like gets away from the area that the Fiend is in, and then he shouts at Vanguard 1 to attack, and with his new upgrade, another new upgrade, and Vanguard 1 starts shooting fireworks at the Fiend, and one actually hits the Fiend in the leg, and the Fiend's kind of down, and Matt Hardy's like kind of celebrating a little, but we see the Fiend look at his heel glove and put it over his leg for a couple seconds, and then he just looks up at Matt Hardy and gets up like normal. So Matt Hardy gets scared, he gets concerned, and he starts booking it back to his house. And as he's booking it, we could hear that Vanguard 1 gets, taken down. We heard something hit Vanguard 1 and it goes down. So Matt Hardy gets back to the house. He like runs in, tell the kids to hide. He tells Rebby to prepare the fences with Senor Benjamin as they get ready, for the Fiend. And then Benjamin goes to make sure that the kids are well hidden, and goes up to the room and makes sure they're hiding. And then we just hear him get attacked from, their room. Hardy runs into this room to see Senor Benjamin knocked down on the ground. As he looks to see the Fiend standing there, and Notice something that we would notice as fans that Hardy kind of notices is that the kid's closet door has the same sign that does in the Firefly Funhouse or the house, and the closet door is wide open. So he notices that, but he also notices the Fiend, and the Fiend and him start brawling in his house for a little bit, and that little brawl ends with the Fiend tossing Matt Hardy out a window into the backyard. And then Matt Hardy, an injured Matt Hardy, starts crawling away, and he crawls basically next to the lake unintentionally, just trying to crawl away. As Fiend comes up closer behind him to like hit him, and the Fiend gets Hardy in the mandible claw, and he's got him down and he's hitting him. He's getting him down. He's got him in the mandible claw, and as he's holding him down, we see a female hand come from out from the lake and hit the 1, 2, 3, and then the Fiend just he gives his victory roar that the Fiend always does.
I think I get it. I'll tell you when it's over.
Alright. He gets the victory roar, and then he drags Matt Hardy's not body, but like knocked out body in the house, and he just drops him in front of Revy and the kids, and then he just like evilly but casually walks past all of them back to the kids' room, and we see in like the kids' perspective, they kind of follow him because they're kind of still entranced by him, and he walks to the closet. He walks into the closet, which is just like the door we've seen in the house, which is blackness behind him. The closet door closes by itself, and the sign falls off and just catches fire and just destroys itself. The kids are confused. They look at each other like all confused. They run to the door, open it, and then it's just a normal closet as the show goes. I don't know if I wanted to make this the main event, so I wrote that the show goes off air, but that's where that ends as they open the door to see in just a normal closet. So yeah, that's what I got.
I think I get it.
All
So
right.
the hand that came out of the lake, are you foreshadowing that the old Bray was cleansed and left Sister Abigail in the lake?
Something along those. It's more of a thing that he left Abigail in the lake. He
Yeah,
left her
right. Yeah,
soul.
yeah. Like he cleansed
Yeah.
himself, but
Oh,
while leaving her entity there.
in the lake. Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
And the Fiend, he could finally listen to the Fiend after he got out the lake because Abigail wasn't like blocking the Fiend's thoughts and talking to him. So he could finally hear the Fiend, and he listened to the Fiend finally, and that's where that all happened. So yeah, that was what I had. Hope you guys liked it. Tell me
That
what
is
you guys think in comments.
that
What
is
do you
kick
think?
ass. I like that a
Thanks.
lot. I like the fact of you played on the demographic of the kids, the Firefly
Yeah.
Funhouse being a show to a cult
Lure
for
kids.
children.
Yeah, to brainwash them.
Yeah, I think that was kick ass. I really enjoyed that one. I was marking
Hmm
out a lot. I think it should be
Something I
titled
like.
"The Man in the Wood."
I didn't even notice. I said man in the wood till you pointed it out. I was like, damn, that's what I'm talking about. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to say man in the wood.
What were you
But
saying though?
something I always want to do with like the Fiend character, I want people to, I want the Fiend to not be able to touch someone until they metaphorically, however way possible, let him in. So that's why I had the thing with the door, as you have to let him in so he can get to you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I hope you guys like it.
I think that was very well done. I like the subtle hints, and I like that you didn't make them a pairing. Um,
Yeah,
I
something
thought that
different.
was I thought that was very different. Yeah, I thought that was kick ass. I like the subtle hints from
Yeah,
the footsteps, which obviously you left as a huge cliffhanger about where
yeah,
those led to. Obviously, that leading to the culmination of it, and I like the Hawaiian shirt thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I like that a lot.
A little fun fact about my booking. I was gonna originally add like a segment where the kids like get sent a Mercy the Buzzard box, but it's like actually Mercy the Buzzard because they love the show, and
Hmm.
that's where the cut off sleeve was gonna tie in. It was gonna be his scarf, Mercy's iconic lion scarf,
Yeah.
but I forgot to add that segment in. So yeah, that's
Oh,
where the cut off sleeve line came from.
I never addressed this, but just to bring it up, just in case you guys forgot it, I'm just gonna play a little audio clip here for you guys. You'll be able
Sure.
to just hear it through my headset. But
Oh yeah, I know which
the
one.
the those I brought up how we've seen the silhouette and the ringing noises. I know WWE hasn't played it in a while, but for those of you who don't know, it's this noise.
Yeah.
Which indeed is the
Our
Fiend's screeching.
things read. Yeah, they confirmed now, which is actually really fucking cool.
Oh god, sorry. Hold on. I want to see if this one's louder. I hope they were able to hear it. I want to see if this one's louder. I hope they were able to hear it. Oh yeah, they were able to hear it. Okay, so I know they haven't played it in a while, but just for those of you who don't know, it's those screeching, ringing
This,
noises. Um, Also, those for me were the noise that was playing when
he was in the house. And
yeah,
Wyatt and the kids were. Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
and
Oh yeah.
also when the Fiend debuted and attacked him.
Yeah.
Um, so
Nice.
yeah, just to play that for you guys because I know if for some of you guys who don't watch WWE Weekly or have watched WWE when the Fiend debuted, they used to play those all the time, but they don't play them for him
Yeah.
anymore. So
Yeah.
I just didn't want you guys to think it was just some random screeching noise. No, it's the
No.
noise that is
Actually,
the Fiend. That's the only
fiend.
noise we've heard him make, other than when he says "Let me in," which is really badass.
Oh yeah, bro.
So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on the uh
Our
the broken booking the broken universe?
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. I mean, this is a lot of fun, especially because me and you are such Hardy and Wild Brooks. This is
Oh
like the
yeah,
perfect thing to write the fantasy book for us. So this is really fun.
yeah. With Wyatt, I love doing it because of all the cinematic shit you can do with his character.
Yeah, all the
Obviously,
cinematic and dark shit.
Ray. Obviously, both of us being such big horror movie fans, it's cool to it's just cool to do just because it's literally like you're just like writing scenes out of a fucking horror movie.
I swear, man.
So yeah, without further ado, I think we should start Undertaker versus the Fiend.
Oh shit. Maybe we should. I think we should, man.
All right, I'll get it kicked
Definitely.
off.
Let's hear it, man.
Undertaker versus the Fiend. Just some things I wanted to bring up beforehand. The amazing, infamous streak is still intact.
Nice. Definitely.
Just spoiler, anytime I'm gonna be doing somebody versus Undertaker at WrestleMania,
This
that's
streak's always there.
yeah, because in my opinion, it should have never been ended. Um,
Yeah, I know. Not like Brock.
Also, Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, never wins the Universal Championship, but still debuts at SummerSlam 2019. So he still debuts there. We're still building. We're still on the fast track to WrestleMania 36. However, in September at Clash of Champions, he does not attack Seth Rollins. He goes right for the big dog, and he enters a feud with him, carrying him through Survivor Series. then to be in a feud with Daniel Bryan, culminating at probably about the Royal Rumble, somewhere around there. So he's got those two feuds, regardless on the timeline. Instead of being in a feud with Seth and then being in a feud with Bryan and then that mini feud with Miz, he's just going to be in a feud with Roman and Bryan, just to kind of get him to the end of the year. And
Yeah.
and obviously he's going to beat both of them in very convincing fashion.
Yeah.
Now, at the night after the Royal Rumble, this is, if the streak is still intact, this is quote unquote the night where Taker starts building towards Mania. Now, I am going to have him in a series of graveyard promos. So he's going to be in a graveyard setting, and it's going to be his graveyard.
Yeah.
Basically, what that means is there's going to be tombstones for people that he's beat. He's gonna
Yeah.
have on there, who did he face at 30 or 35? He didn't face anybody at 35. He's going to have Cena 26 and 0. Lesnar 24 and 0. You get the gist.
Yeah.
He's going to
Hmm.
just the Undertaker themed graveyard, and he's going to be cutting promos in there, building to kind of just building him up for Mania, but not challenging anybody. Obviously, he was his. Even if he was going to make a challenge, it came to a screeching halt. So we got a Taker graveyard promo with WrestleMania tombstones, like I said, and he mentions taking souls. Obviously, taking souls and digging holes or whatever he says.
Yeah.
And he mentions how no man has ever been the same since facing him at WrestleMania. Now, just a little Easter egg. We're going to have one of the tombstones that's front and center throughout these promos is Bray Wyatt. I believe it's 22 and 0 or 23 and 0, something like that.
I
So,
think it's 22.
so we're gonna have Bray Wyatt 2015. His tombstone be the front and center when you see, just by coincidence. He's not going to be challenging Wyatt or anything, but just by complete coincidence, that's the one front and center that you see throughout um, the whole
Yeah.
string of promos. And he mentions no man has ever been the same since facing him at WrestleMania. And this year, WrestleMania 36, 2020,
Hmm.
he sets out to do the same exact thing again that he's been doing for 25 plus years.
Yeah.
Weeks later, another graveyard promo building to WrestleMania. Taker says in this promo, I've walked this path with demons. And before he can get another word out, he's interrupted in his graveyard by Firefly Funhouse Bray peeking around a tombstone, just grinning from ear to ear.
Oh shit.
Bray says, Hey Taker, I'm a huge fan. I thought I would stop by this super cool graveyard. I'm glad you let me in. You know, Taker, you haven't only walked this path with demons, you've created them too. And that's where you see his face get straightened. Obviously, he's not smiling, super happy Bray. And he
Yeah.
says, he never forgot what you did to me 5 years ago. You remember what you did to me, don't you, Undertaker? And laughs. Bray, or Taker, goes to step towards Bray, and Bray peeks back around behind the tombstone. Now, the first thing Undertaker sees when he passed the tombstone, it wasn't there before, kinda out of the camera pan to where we can't really see it, he sees a scarecrow.
Yeah.
Just a little Easter egg, just kind of at Wyatt's WrestleMania 31 entrance, when he lost to him. So obviously, that scarecrow is going to be symbolism that Wyatt has never forgot. When he brought his scarecrows to battle with him, he lost.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
wants, and he put the storyline, put that there to make sure Taker never forgot, which is just a little bit of just a little Easter egg. So that's just the psychology behind the Easter egg. Obviously, you guys watched WrestleMania 31. Wyatt came out and his entrance had scarecrows in it, and every time he hit the scarecrow, it came to life. So Taker kind of sees off into the distance a scarecrow. Like, not in the camera pan to where we can see it and it's front and center, but kind of off, and Taker notices it, and he notices it
Yeah.
because it wasn't there before, and he just and he basically just kind of looks. He
Mm-hmm.
glances back at WrestleMania's or at Bray's WrestleMania 31 tombstone to see the burnt rocking chair that he burned 5 years prior to this,
Yeah.
with Bray's old head lantern next to it.
Oh shit.
Goes off air. Taker cutting live promo weeks later about Bray stepping into his backyard, etc. Goes to hit lightning, and the lights go out. Now, apologize for all the audio clips, but basically something a little like this, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Kind of where it
Yeah.
like fizzles out, where you kind of hear like
Yeah.
you basically kind of hear like lightning fizzle out, I guess. It's just a cool sound. And Taker. Okay, I apologize. I lost my
That's
bullet point. Taker cutting live promo about Bray stepping into his graveyard, etc. And he goes to hit his lightning, raise his arms up, and the lights fizzle out. Obviously. Lights come back on, and standing in front of The Undertaker is The Fiend. Huge crowd pop. Everybody knows that, obviously, from Wyatt's foreshadowing. He never forgot what you did to me. You remember, don't you?
Yeah.
And The Fiend is standing there, but he can't see him, because one thing they took away from The Fiend that I am in this storyline not taking away from him is the hood. The hood was the
Oh,
coolest fucking thing, a part of his entrance, of The Fiend with the hood on and
swear.
like those two dreads hanging in front of his face. That was
Yeah.
badass. So he's standing
That
there
was.
with his hood on, but his head's down.
Mm-hmm.
And they get a great camera shot of this. The Fiend slowly picks his head up, and he's standing there with his lantern, and he's got his head down, just slumped, looking at the ground. He picks his head up. He points to the WrestleMania sign at Undertaker. He looks up at Taker and points at the WrestleMania sign,
Yep.
and he disappears.
Oh shit.
And standing um standing in front of Taker is nothing anymore. And Taker looks a little taken back by this, kind of a little just kind of shook. And and then Taker goes away. Multiple Firefly fun houses uh because Undertaker is not there every week. Um next thing next thing oh yeah, multiple Firefly fun houses because Undertaker isn't there every week, so we need somebody to kind of build towards this. Not multiple to the point where it looks like Bray is building the feud by himself. Maybe just like two, maybe three. And there's an episode where Bray says he will take everything, like Taker did to him
Yeah.
5 years ago. He smiles. It cuts to the Dark Funhouse. Now, if you guys don't remember the Dark Funhouse, go watch the Firefly Funhouse, where where Bray unveiled the Fiend. Obviously, there was like that dark, dimmed fun house. It was real creepy. And all the puppets just transformed to their evil personas as well. And it cuts to the Dark Firefly Funhouse with the It cuts to the dark. Sorry, it cuts to the Dark Firefly Funhouse with the Fiend standing there. He grabs his mallet. Obviously, I'm a mark for the mallet. If you guys couldn't tell, and he hits someone with the mallet, but you don't see who he hits. You just hear a loud whack, and all of a sudden, the Fiend picks up Kane's mask.
Oh shit.
I would even kind of throw some lines in there, like Bray being like, "Listen, Taker, I know you can love. I can. I just still got a lot of darkness in my noggin, but I have it in me, which is why I created this. And I know you can love too, which is why I'm gonna take everything away from you, like you did to me 5 years ago." Obviously, then he smashes Taker's brother, Kane, with a mallet in the face. Obviously, and then pulling up the Kane mask. And I would even have a little thing in here where the Fiend laughs, which I feel like would be so badass.
Oh yeah.
Go home show, Undertaker in a graveyard promo on Wyatt. He's just talking. He's just shooting, just saying Undertaker things. And he says, no, he's just, like I said, he's just talking, and all of a sudden, Taker can't see this. See a black hand rise. You see a black hand come through the ground from Wyatt's gravesite, and as the hand comes up, starts to see a leather jacket. And obviously, once the hole gets big enough, you see the long white hair, the pale white face, the long yellow hair, I mean, the pale white face. And you see the Fiend rise up right behind Undertaker. Taker puts up a little fight, but Bray wins the brawl. And he drags Undertaker to the he drags Undertaker to his WrestleMania 31 tombstone. He picks Undertaker's head up by the hair and he makes him look at it, because the Fiend can't talk, but basically what he's saying is, "Do you remember what you did to me?" Pretty much. That's the symbolism there. Now, the Fiend slowly fades away. And obviously, the whole time, he's beating up Taker. He's screaming behind this noise. I apologize to keep putting the audio in there, but just in case we have any new viewers. It's a sick ass noise anyway. Obviously, the Fiend screeching. Okay. Next up, the Fiend slowly fades away. I would have him looking back at Undertaker as he's walking away, and as he turns around, he sees that same scarecrow. But cool symbolism here, as to where 5 years ago, when Bray Wyatt touched them, what did they do? They came alive.
Yeah.
Now, the Fiend touches the Scarecrow, and he lights it on fire. Just by a simple touch, obviously with the hurt hand. So, gotta go there.
Yeah. Definitely.
The puppets, as Undertaker's laying there, the puppets come up from behind the tombstones, and they're laughing at Undertaker.
Yeah.
And Abby the witch, utters, "If we have your streak, we have your career, Undertaker. It'll be safe in our hands."
Oh.
Taker sits up, looks at the puppets, and the puppets go back down, goes off air. Obviously, go home show. Go home show. Fiend, we get to WrestleMania. Fiend dominates Undertaker at WrestleMania with Mandible Claw banging his head up against the mat because Undertaker he's beaten up Undertaker. He's definitely got the upper hand for 80% of the match. But Taker just won't give up because it's his streak. He just keeps kicking out, obviously, from everything Bray's throwing at him. So what gets to Taker? Sister Abigail immediately whipped into a Mandible Claw, and Wyatt does not waste any time at all. As soon as he locks it in, he grips Undertaker's jaw and just starts banging his head up against the mat to the point where you see the visual of Undertaker's eyes roll to the back of his head, and after the 3 count, his eyes go from rolled back to shut. And the Fiend, obviously, hurt, heel, theme song comes on, obviously. Fans are in shock, fans are in disbelief. Perfect person to take it from him.
Definitely.
Easily. After the match, Taker, we get the little segment where Taker's standing there. Taker's standing there on one knee. And actually, no, because that doesn't really make any sense with the booking I just portrayed as if he just died in the ring. So, Taker's laying there. Quick fix. Taker's laying there, and Bray is just standing above him. Have you ever seen the image where he's kind of squatted down looking at him, like with his head? He's got his hands on his knees, and his head's tilted, and he's staring at Taker. Just like that. Lights go out. They come back on, and instead of the Undertaker's body, it's his hat and his coat in front of Wyatt. And Wyatt's still looking at it. Now, Wyatt doesn't disrespect it or anything, because that moment was a pass of the Face of Fear torch. Obviously, they're not going to shake hands. Fiend is going to kill him, and he's going to be the storyline, and he's going to be the new face of Fear. That's how, to me, that's the perfect way of passing the torch of a scary guy. You portray it as if one killed the other, and there's a new Joker in town. You know what I mean?
I get you.
So, Bray is just staring at the hat and coat. He gets up, or he doesn't have his hands on his knees. He stands upright anymore. And he poses to the crowd. Lights go out, lights come back on. He is on the stage, obviously, doing this thing.
Yeah.
If it will load. His outro. Obviously. Also, while Taker's hat and coat are there, and the Fiend has his hands on his knees and he's got his head turned to the side looking at it. The Fiend, the reason he stands upright is because the Tron grabs his attention, and the Tron reads 27-1.
Yeah.
And I would have the 1 be in those like scratch let me in fiend letters.
Oh,
Um,
that's sick.
so Undertaker font, Undertaker background, but the 1 is the
Yeah,
fiend
yeah.
letter. And that's how I would do that. Obviously, like I said, outro, ringing, fiend screeching, fiend does his outro, and when the lights come back on, this is the main event, by the way, because if you break the streak, you can't follow that. Look at
Exactly.
WrestleMania
Yeah,
30.
exactly.
Nobody,
Yeah.
those women were put out there in a sleeper match where everybody at home was probably breaking their TVs because the streak was just broken.
Oh, yeah.
You just can't do
You
that to
can't.
talent. You just can't. You
You have
can't
to
do that
end
to,
show with the streak.
yes, it goes off air, and Bray does his outro on the stage, and the camera pans back to the ring, and instead of the hat and the coat, it's an urn. And the
Ooh.
camera gets really close to the urn, and the urn reads on it 27-1. Rest in peace. And the show
Ooh.
fades off. That's how I would book it. Let me know what you guys think. We got a new subscriber as we are doing this. Hooray,
Nice.
hooray. Um, uh, obviously, that's how I would do it. Um, what do you guys think? Tell me, let me know in the comments. And what do you
Alright.
think, bro?
I think that was some good shit, man. I like the way it all ended, man.
Camera
And
work at
look,
its finest.
hell, I definitely gotta get that good ass camera work. And the representation of like the 27-1 and the 1 is like represented as that's the Fiend's victory. It's not just Fiend
Yeah,
won. It's
right,
it
and
symbolizes the Fiend.
right, and for as far as as far as the symbolism goes, I think I tried to have Wyatt know how. Obviously, Wyatt knows the Fiend better than anybody, but notice I had him go into Taker's backyard a lot. Now his
Yeah,
graveyard. Obviously, the reason for doing that is because um, that's that's pretty much
yeah,
that is where that was a little foreshadowing, I guess. You know, just kind of like a passing of the torch type thing where
yeah.
he goes in his backyard and completely dominates him, obviously. But
Exactly.
also Wyatt doing little things like planting scarecrows in the backyard. Obviously, I think that was
Yeah,
kind of a little symbolism in with the
that was
rocking
sick.
chair of like you're in
The
whether it
world.
looks like it or not, old man, you're in my world now. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I dig it, man.
So
That was fantastic.
that is the psychology behind my booking. Like I said, what did you guys think about it? And um, yeah,
Hell yeah.
let me let me let me know what you guys think about that. And without further ado, if you want to get started, take it away.
Alrighty, man. Shit. Okay. Hopefully, I don't say no man within the wood type shit again. Okay. So,
Man in the wood.
bullet. Fuck, man. Alright, some bullet points for my match. And still, the streak's not dead, obviously. Um, this takes place at Mania 36, the ending to it all. And another fact that makes sense in the beginning, that Cena and Taker match never happened. That will remain a what if, and that will remain a what if for a reason in my booking. So those are like my bullet points. So the story starts off at the SmackDown after SummerSlam. Um, Taker comes out and he says all of his life, well, that his life force, his soul is getting old. He says he wants a match at SummerSlam where it all began, where it all, is almost close to coming towards an end. He wants a match with someone he never faced before. He's like someone like that. Someone I've beat so many people. I want someone new at like SummerSlam, not SummerSlam, Survivor Series. I meant Survivor Series.
I was just thinking, I was
But
like, oh. I was
meant
just
to
thinking, I'm
say
like, wait, this
he wants him. I meant to say he wants a match in Survivor Series. I fucked that up. My bad. So he says a lot, and we hear Cena's music hit, and he comes out, and he challenged him for a match at Survivor Series, not SummerSlam, Survivor Series. And then Wyatt's talking about you know, when someone lets him in once, he's always with them. He makes that little reference in that Firefly Funhouse episode. But then, you know, SummerSlam happens. You know, Cena's music hits. Wait, I have to make sure. I. Hmm? Oh yeah, yeah. All right, I'll make sure that Taker didn't come out first. So Cena's music hits. He comes out and he's doing his normal, Cena entrance. And in his entrance, we hear the classic, doo doo, as the lights go out. And then the Fiend attacks him. He beats his ass, mauls him. He
yeah.
hold on. Oh, yeah. And it ends in him throwing Cena into like a production crate, shutting it, and like knocking a whole bunch of like scaffolding over it to like keep him trapped in there. As a not only literally but metaphorically, against Taker. Then he goes to the ring. He starts to do. He goes to the ring, starts to do his, Fiend roar, and Taker comes out. He stares at him, and then the Fiend staring back at him, and he runs towards him. The Fiend runs towards Taker, and then the lights go out, back on, the Fiend's gone. Now, like a month or two later at SmackDown, 3 weeks, actually, 3 weeks after, at SmackDown, after that, show, Taker comes out and he says that at, Survivor Series, he had a great opponent, ripped away from him by someone that he already taken their soul from. Firefly Funhouse hits, and Wyatt says, "Hey Taker, you're upset about that lost opportunity, huh? I've been there many a times. You would know a lot about that, wouldn't you? Now I have no ill will towards you. I forgive you. I forgive everyone. But he does not. He just can't stop thinking about you. Fuck. He just can't stop thinking about you. He saw how much you
Uh-huh.
took from me,
Oh.
and he wants to take everything from you." Say the fucking missed. So yeah, it says he wants to take everything from you, and he already started. And he like kind of turns to that picture of Kane he has on his wall.
Uh-huh.
But he says, "But he can't touch you until you let him in. But I have to go find Rambling Rabbit. He's somewhere lost again. So bye." Classic Funhouse break shit.
Right.
That's where that ends. Couple weeks later, maybe a month. I don't know, just time frame. Um, SmackDown, and then the Firefly Funhouse, hits. And in that episode, he's teaching Mercy to color, and he shows like a coloring book to the camera, and it's like all demonic and shit, classic Funhouse dark shit.
Uh,
And he's talking. The book bursts into flames, and pyro hits in like the ring itself, and Kane comes out from under the ring. He says that the Fiend's attack on him wasn't it in 2019 that he attacked Kane? It was 2019,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that he attacked him in 2019 wasn't enough. You know, they're going back and forth a little, and Wyatt says, "All right, how about the Royal Rumble? He ends it once and for all." And then as he says that, you see Huskus the pig rise, not like rise, but like come from that little hole that Kane came from in, the ring, and he hands him a contract. Kane looks at the contract, He looks at it, he looks up at Wyatt, and he throws it back in the hole. A little fire thing under it. Not actual fire, but something to represent fire. And then he says, deal. So, at the Royal Rumble, where that match takes place, The Fiend comes out first. Kane comes out with Taker. And The Fiend just doesn't even pay attention to Kane. He just has his eyes set on Taker. And then, Kane gets in the ring. Fiend's still looking at Taker. Taker just, goes back into, like, the smoke, but, back to Gorilla. And, the match happens. The Fiend chokeslams Kane with, like, the hand in his mouth, gets him on the ground, gets him in the Mare Claw, and, wins. And, the Fiend does, right after he wins, as, the music's blaring, is he holding Kane down. He goes down, bites down on Kane's mask, and rips it off. And the Fiend, like, does one last, like, another Fiend roar with the mask as that match ends.
Does he
And
wear it?
he does not.
He doesn't
He
wear
still has
both
it in his mouth.
masks.
The Fiend just has it in his mouth.
Huh.
And a couple of SmackDowns later, Taker comes out, and he says the Fiend took his brother away from him. But Bray Wyatt failed to take me and the world so many years ago. And then the Firefly Funhouse hits as he's talking. Wyatt says, yeah, you're right. Not only did he take your brother, but I failed. I failed my promise, my prophecy, but it's not because it's not because of you were able to stop me. It's because I failed because I was just blind, listening and fall to everything Abigail told me. But when I should have been listening to him the whole time. He was always there talking to me, but Abigail just blocked him out. I think I'm gonna put this down. Alright. I never
Did he say that?
just read a piece of paper. But yeah, he said Abigail's been blocking him the whole time.
Yes.
I never let any of the voices in until I lost everything, including Abigail, the people, and myself. All I had were the voices left, and they told me that they can help me, and they told me to build all this. I gave them vessels of life, and I gave him, like I said in the Hardy one, he says, I gave him the most important vessel of all. The last thing I ever owned was just myself. He says, he's always been me, deep down, but I just couldn't see it till... Oh wait, I just couldn't see it. I was always him, and he was always me, deep down. I didn't see it till I looked up in the mirror and saw him. Now, I can I can unleash this great power onto you. End your reign of power, the streak, and your soul. All you have to do is let him in. Taker says that's his soul. He lost it already. He took Wyatt's soul already. He has no purpose in letting him in. Do you? Asks. Do you? Wyatt says, as he lifts up his head lantern, that one, and it's glowing super bright. He claimed that your brother signed. There was a little like thing in it. He says it in the why way, but he says there was something in the contract that said if I win, I had his soul. Hold on. Oh yeah, I have his soul. As he takes Mercy, puts him down like in front of the lamp, and then Mercy, Mercy's in the box, and as the lamp grows brighter next to Mercy, Mercy drops down lifeless, and the lantern's brighter now. So, and Wyatt just says, so he'll be hearing from you soon as, Firefly Funhouse ends. And a couple weeks later, in the Firefly Funhouse, Wyatt says that he wants to see Taker on, wait, on, and then, whatever the date of the go home show would be on that SmackDown. So he can be let in. Cut to that go home show. Taker comes out to see that his urn is already displayed out for him. Taker goes up there and he says, where are you? And the coffin gets wheeled up to the ring, puts next to the ring, and like puts in the ring. Like, it gets put in the ring. And on the casket, the coffin, you see it, it's wood, so it's like carved in. It says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." That sign. And he opens it, and there's nothing there. He's like, what? And he just like closes it, and he turns around, and then he's now at this point he's facing the urn, and Ramblin' Rabbit pops out the urn, and he says, "Hey, dude, you're the Undertaker. I love you, but you made a grave mistake, dude." As the coffin makes a like a thud on the inside, and then we hear the lights go out, the noise, the dun noise hits, and the coffin door flies open, and comes out the Fiend with a shovel in his hand. He stares at Taker, and he points at him. He points at Taker, and he throws the shovel on the ground and points to that. And then, Taker looks at him for tipping his hat to him. As all this happening, Ramblin' Rabbit hides back in the urn. And then that happens, he tips his hat, Fiend laughs, disappears, reappears. He's laughing on stage, and he's holding the urn as the noise happened, the screech. And then, we get to Mania. And at Mania, Wyatt comes out first with his head lanterns. The light is still very bright, and we actually see that he stitched parts of Kane's mask, both like his classic one and his modern one. He stitched part of it on the face, just to fuck with, Taker. And then Taker comes out, he walks past the lantern and he like sees it, because how he puts it in that same spot on the apron? He looks at it on that spot. And by the way, if you guys didn't know, this Buried Alive match at Mania, if the shovel and pointing didn't hit it off, I think I forgot to say that.
I thought you were foreshadowing that Undertaker buried Wyatt.
I mean, you could say it's both. But it meant like me, you, shovel. Buried alive.
Burial. Oh, burial.
Yeah. I should have said that, but I'm done. All right.
Yeah.
Match starts in the ring, and Wyatt and him and Taker are brawling a little. Wyatt, of course, is like dominating over him a little, and then he gains the upper hand. He gets him in they all get near the grave at this point in the Buried Alive match, and he's got him in the mandible claw next to the grave. And Taker grabs his hand, pulls it away, and does his classic sit-up while he's holding Wyatt's hand. Not holding his hand, but pulling back his hand. As he gets up, still with his hand in his hand, and he's still gripping. Okay, you say he's gripping the forearm. He's gripping his forearm.
Gay story.
He sits up. As he's getting up, he has his forearm and he throws, Wyatt into the grave. Man, he throws Wyatt into the grave. He pours the dirt on him with the shovel.
Yeah.
And he unveils the grave, and it says The Fiend, and the date, and 28, which would be 36. And the fans are pissed, they're shocked, they're you can tell they're not happy with this. But as he gets up with, he already tossed Wyatt in. Oh yeah, Taker starts to leave, and he sees that the light in the lantern went out. And then of course the 27-0 goes to 28-0, and then Taker does a little chuckle, that he won. But the gravestone burst into flames as he does this, shocking Taker. We could hear the Wyatt laugh, and then he looks back at at the grave, seeing his name on it. The 28 and 0 reverts back to 27 and 0 as Taker looks at the entrance and sees the Fiend. Actually, I didn't mention this earlier again. Taker's entrance, he rose up from the entrance stage, and we see the Fiend rise up from Taker's spot, and the Fiend looks at him. He looks at his heel glove, because, representing something.
Mm-hmm.
Fiend runs at him. Sister Abigail's him next to the grave, in front of the grave. Taker barely gets up on his knees. He looks up the Fiend, and he does one last nod as the Fiend grabs him, throws him in the grave, puts the dirt over it, put the last of the dirt over it. On the board, we see the 27 and 0 go to 27 and 1 as 3 gongs go off, and it ends with the Fiend screech as he looks into the camera. He's got the urn in hand, and he crushes it. He reaches down, picks up the lantern as the light goes back on, and he laughs as it goes off air. So, that's what I got.
Will that be in the main event?
Yes, yeah, obvious. Yeah, fuck, I didn't mention that too, but that is the main event of the show. So, yeah, that's what I have, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, man.
That was really good. I like that one a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Look.
Well, guys, let us know what you think now that our first fantasy booking, all those are out the way. And, yeah, guys, so, now, one of my questions, or one of my conversation starter questions I wanted to ask, since this episode is pretty much all based around the Fiend. One of the things I hear a lot of people say is, if I could find it, one of the things I hear a lot of people say is, does the Fiend character, to you, need a title?
Not all the time, personally. It's cool. Of course, it would be great for him to compete, to have it every once in a while, and have the title reign be longer and good. But he doesn't 24/7 need it. What do you think?
I think. Well, the thing is, people all the time like to beg the argument that the character just doesn't need to win a championship. To me, I completely disagree with that. I think the character needs to win a championship. I think that's what solidifies a superstar. What is the Undertaker if he's never been the world champion? But I mean, he doesn't need to be the champion all the time. But for the people that say that the character just doesn't need to win a championship,
that's dumb.
That
needs to win it.
Yeah, I mean, to say that he'll be fine never winning it, I mean, sure, the character will, sure, but like I said, how great is the Undertaker how great does Taker become if he never wins a championship?
Exactly. If the Fiend wants a legacy, he needs to win it a couple times. Have some good title reigns. You can't never win
it. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I disagree with a lot of people that say that. It's not just a novelty act. It's a character. He has reasonings behind the shit he does. You know what I mean? He's not just there for some cool cinematic shots, even though he's got a ton of them you can do with his character. But that's not the only reason he's there. He's there to get revenge. He's there to wrong the people that hurt him, which is relatable in some sense.
Yeah. Revenge. Just proving your self-worth to the people who already put you down.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely agree with you. He doesn't need to be champion 24/7.
Right.
But he definitely has to have some good title reigns in his career to have a legacy like Taker.
Another conversation starter I just popped in my head. You know, so we just mentioned the character of the Fiend having a championship, if that character does have a championship, how does he go about losing it?
Oh, that's difficult.
It's
I
almost like
don't.
he doesn't, right? Unless you have
Yeah,
Funhouse Bray lose it.
yeah, but you can't always rely on that. So you just gotta find some clever ways for him to lose it. Not by the Fiend getting pinned or lost.
Right.
Just, some other clever way. Do you?
What about a Buried Alive match
Yeah.
where maybe the guy does enough work to get him in the grave and then has a mystery partner on the tractor trailer quickly dump the thing down, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe just come up
Exactly.
with,
Something like that.
or like a last man standing where things are just piled on him to a point where he can't physically get the shit off of him. The Fiend.
Yeah.
What's up?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just supposed to say the same thing you did. He doesn't need to lose by pins.
Oh yeah, I was also gonna say, in uh, wait, what kind of match is that called again? My brain just broke.
Buried alive.
No, the other one you said.
Last
Fuck, I
man standing.
forgot. Yeah, last man standing match. You could do a thing where maybe you tie him down for just long enough for the 10 count, but right after the 10 count, he breaks free and starts whooping
Right.
ass. Like something like that. Still, you gotta still make him look strong in a loss,
Yeah.
but it can't be a direct loss to the Fiend. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I think, um, I think, yeah, for sure. There's definitely other ways around it. Definitely. I mean, there's so much. It just takes one creative brain to do good, but it doesn't really seem like they have many of those.
Yeah, they really don't. They're fucked with creativeness. They got none.
For sure.
Slaughter man.
Yeah, but, another
Yeah.
thing. Do you think that the Sister Abigail character is needed?
I say not anymore, man. I say the Fiend is the new Sister Abigail for Bray Wyatt.
Right.
What about you? You think that? You think she's needed, at least?
Well,
She'd be a cool addition to him now.
yeah, by this point, like, I remember there was a point in time, like, around, like, WrestleMania
He needed it.
33 and after,
Yeah.
where it was just so needed just for his
Oh,
character
yeah.
because he was just on the down, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's like he lost himself, and he would always throw little Easter eggs
Yeah.
about her, and everything kind of pointed to her being there for him at some point, but it just never
Yeah, in the
happened. And
physical form.
but
Yeah.
now I think that the Fiend is his back pocket tool now, and not really her
Yeah.
anymore. I
And
think I
exactly.
think it'd be cool at some point, but then I also
Yeah.
think that it'd also be cool for like a what if, or maybe one of those cool little psychological fucks where it's like, or it says, or where it's like one of those things where it's like she always just existed in his mind.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, but um,
Definitely.
yeah, but as far as the Hardy and Wyatt thing, where do you
Hmm.
feel as if they went wrong?
God, man. They
Like the
just
way
made
they booked it. Like, what was
they
the exact moment where you were like, well, they fucked that up.
the exact moment. I didn't notice it at the time, but when Bray came back in, the Battle Royal, he was just normal Bray.
Hmm.
Just good old normal Bray, but he acted, like you said, he acted like this new Bray, but he
Right.
didn't look it. I say that. We didn't notice at the time, but that's probably it for me. You?
I think for me, one of the moments where it's like, I think it's after when they won the Raw Tag Team Championships.
No.
I think, I think I think it was just like, okay, because as far as my memory serves me correctly, that was where they started billing them as like the light and the dark, and that's why they get along so well. And I'm like, I'm just thinking to
Yeah.
myself, I'm like, so why didn't they get along before? Bray Wyatt was much darker than he
Exactly.
is now. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Like you said, the light and dark is them versus each other, not them as fucking allies.
Right, yeah, for sure. I think that's where I think they went wrong in the whole thing. Um, is the whole light and dark thing. It didn't make any sense. That's not what they're supposed to be as friends. The whole point of
Yeah.
Matt, the whole point of Matt, cleansing Brother Nero was to get Brother Nero to act like him.
Yeah.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? To act broken, not to act like just normal Jeff, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of like reincarnating them into his version of them.
Right.
And that's really
Yeah.
just the same Wyatt, just babyface. So yeah, I definitely get what you mean.
Yeah, for sure. Also, do you think that Bray Wyatt should have been the one to break the streak at WrestleMania 31?
That's a difficult decision now. Looking back at the Fiend, I don't know, man. I don't think that Wyatt was ready. After that loss to Cena, I'd say no. I think the loss would have just made Wyatt who he is today. So I say nah. You?
You see, immediately where they fucked up with him was giving him these big name legends. Unless you're gonna have him win, don't feed them Bray.
No. This
Like,
new guy.
yeah, this new up and coming guy, fucking, I don't know, fucking have Batista come back or something, or have,
Yeah.
dude, there's gotta be something for Taker, like Sting, but they ended up just giving him to Triple H.
Yeah.
But to ask, should the Fiend have broken the streak at WrestleMania 31? Had he beat Cena, yes.
Yeah.
But then that begs the question: if that Bray was doing so good, would we have ever got the Fiend,
Not.
or would he have just stayed with what was
I
working?
think we would have got the Fun House and the Fiend way later in his career. Like Kane was saying in that interview. Sometimes after doing the same old gimmick for like ever, you want to change it up, and I feel that would happen with Wyatt. And he always had, the Fiend thought in his mind. So I think we'd get it eventually, or some form of it.
Yeah, but I think to me that's where they fucked up originally, was giving this new guy to these legends and
Exactly.
having them just beat
Bury
him.
him. Yeah.
I
In his
think
first Mania.
yeah, I think it called for a greater story now that we have the Fiend, but in the moment, hell no.
Oh my god.
You just don't do stuff like that. That's just stupidity.
Yeah. Exactly, man. That was just
But
really dumb.
yeah, but if like I said, if Bray beats Cena, I think yes.
Yeah.
But also, man, if WrestleMania 30 and 31 wasn't bad enough, 32? Oh my
Oh
god.
my god, man.
Again, just
I
feeding him to legends. Like, bro,
swear.
these are the people that Vince McMahon goes out and says, oh, well, Bray's a visionary. He likes to grab the brass ring. What the?
And yeah, so you
That,
bury him?
so this is what he gets for trying to grab the brass ring? What the fuck?
Fucking buried by rock.
Seriously, and 34, he does his grand comeback on the pre-show. 35, he's not even on the show. 36, he finally gets the culmination to his WrestleMania moment. And from here on out, we need straight wins, bro. Wins
Oh, swear, bro, just wins on wins.
at Mania.
After,
And the thing is, the thing that gets me so mad, Roman ended up pulling out of WrestleMania. We could have gotten Cena versus Wyatt, number 17, in the Firefly Funhouse match. And we probably could have just got Goldberg and Strowman in just a regular dream match that doesn't
yeah,
need a
man,
championship.
exactly. Like, oh my god, the lost potential is unbelievable in that
Seriously.
feud, man. Like, I
Yeah.
generally like the way they did that feud, but they could have been so
Mhm.
much better with that title. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
so
I also think, man, you know the original plan for Wyatt at WrestleMania 32 was to face Brock, right?
really,
And they were gonna do Ambrose versus Roman versus Triple H and have Ambrose win it because he was so over at the time.
oh
And they were gonna
shit,
do Bray versus Brock, and I could just, I can't just I could just I don't know what's worse, getting buried by Brock, who you know isn't gonna sell for you,
oh
barely,
yeah,
especially at that time to where he was just in 2016 where he was just destroying people,
yeah,
and then you have The Rock, where he just buries one of your faction mates in 7 seconds, and
yeah.
whoop-de-doo.
Like, swear, man.
So I don't know what would have been worse. I don't know. But anyway, all the way back to that question. Does Bray break the streak at 31? If he beats Cena, yes. But if it is
Yeah,
how
I
it
agree
went,
with that.
no.
I agree with that, definitely, bro.
Um, Because once you beat Cena, man, like, you better put... If that's not a guy you want to put on the fast track to success, I don't know what is.
I know,
You know
man.
what I mean?
Glad Cena changed his ways.
For sure. Um, do you think that they will ever do this? Do you think they'll ever do the Fiend
Hmm.
versus Undertaker?
Oh, I don't think they can anymore. The Undertaker gimmick is dead. Now we have, old man American Badass Taker. And nobody wants to see that versus the Fiend. Like, God, no.
That's the thing. Like, the whole dream match is built around the Dead Man, because the two
Yeah,
creepy
exactly.
guys, not the
Yeah,
old bastard,
yeah,
versus fucking the Fiend. You know what I mean? But as far as his
exactly.
retribution goes, I feel like it'd be cool to see them cross paths at some point. Um,
Yeah,
but preferably, just leave it as a what if. What
I'd
if the
say,
Fiend
man.
faced the Undertaker? But as far as the passing, do you think there need to be a passing of the torch, or do you think it is?
I think what it should be, I would prefer like it's completely like not like formal but like obvious passing the torch from Taker to with the Fiend. But I don't think they'll ever do that. I think we are gonna get like just the obvious as he's clearly the new face of Fiend at Fear now, so yeah, I think that's how it's gonna end up going.
The face of Fiend. Um,
The face of Fiend. God damn man. You fucking up today.
yeah, man, but I mean, yeah, I don't. I feel like we will see them cross paths, but I don't know if it. I mean, it'll mean something, but like, I don't know if I don't know if it'll have the same effect.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It definitely wouldn't have the same effect as Badass Taker.
Right. I think, yeah, I don't know. I just feel, um, just them losing the streak, like now in hindsight, I mean, not in hindsight, because everybody knew that Brock shouldn't have gotten it. Um,
Oh yeah.
he, and then they just went and fed him to Roman. Like, I feel like he, like, so, I think them losing the streak ruined so much cool future shit they could have did. They could have did the
Oh, they
Sting
really
match. They
did.
could have did so much, you know. They really could
I
have.
swear, man. They really could have done some cool shit, but they gave it to Brock for. It's not like Brock is a young guy either.
I know. He's
That's
like
why I never
freaking.
understood why they built him up so much.
I know. They built this dude up like he was a fucking like a
Dreams
fucking
age.
right. They built him up as this unstoppable force, and by this point, that storyline is so old and gay. Like
No.
it seems like every single year this guy is champion at Mania. Like, how many times
I
are we
swear.
gonna get the he beat Brock angle before it's like he beat Brock? And
Yep.
by this
What is
point,
it?
it's kind of already like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's gonna beat
Like,
Lesnar at Mania. Like, by this point, like, why the fuck is he there? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
you took away the mystique of when's Brock gonna lose for Goldberg at Survivor Series in 2016, and then Brock just went on to just beat Goldberg, and if he gained any credibility back, he just was built
Yeah.
up, which did not give him any credibility at all, and he ended up just being universally hated by everybody, just
Yeah.
to just to uh just to lose it to Roman.
Yeah. Like,
And then the big title reign, it's not Roman's fault, because he went out with cancer, or did he? Um, this big title reign that was so awaited, it just
yeah.
lasts for like 2 months, and then he
I swear,
relinquishes it.
man.
And just for them to give it
Like,
right back to Brock, like, bro.
yeah. You couldn't put it on at least someone else. Like, why does it have to go back on Brock? He already beat Brock.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah.
that's, that's just how I feel about it. Like, with them losing the streak, I feel like they just ruined so much cool shit
So
they could
much
have did.
growth. I swear. So much potential ruined in that moment, so.
And as soon as the
Definitely.
streak lost, it's like nobody really cared about, like, because the Undertaker would always say, like, the streak is his soul.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
well,
he
without your
lost it.
soul, who are you? And he lost it.
Exactly. And he was nothing. So.
Yeah,
Exactly, man.
they honestly just made so much dreadful WrestleMania moments. That's all they really accomplished out of that. So,
Yeah. Seriously, man.
yeah, guys, but as we wrap up here, just hope you guys like the fantasy bookings and,
Hope you guys.
uh, yeah, so basically, next week, just, announcements. It will most likely be Wednesday. Will most likely be
Yeah.
Wednesday instead of Tuesday. Obviously, like we mentioned, this is a show that's going to be kind of moved around and kind of just put on whatever day, but we will give you guys a day notice.
Yeah.
Obviously, in next week, our themed will be Mount Rushmores. We're back to Mount Rushmores, you guys, and the
Yep.
theme of this one is brands. We will be doing a Mount Rushmore for Raw. We'll be doing a Mount Rushmore for SmackDown. We'll be doing a Mount Rushmore for NXT. Not AEW. Obviously, their roster still needs to come into his own. Obviously, that'll
Yeah,
take
it's
that'll
too
take
early.
years to roster of its own.
Exactly.
Yeah, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Mount Rushmore is the. When you say the word Raw, what comes to your mind? What people come to your mind? We're gonna tell you next week. When SmackDown, who do you think of? We'll tell you. Same with NXT. We will tell you guys who comes to our mind when we think of those three particular brands. As for this episode, you guys, we worked really hard on doing these fantasy bookings. Hope you guys did enjoy them. Obviously, some
Hopefully.
great fantasy
It was just
bookings
great shit.
on this
Definitely.
episode. And in about 3 weeks' time, we'll be coming to you with the next topics. Excited
Yep.
for those. Obviously, I think you guys
Oh,
will
yeah.
like them. And yeah, that is gonna do it for this episode, you guys. Yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said, we will see you guys Friday with all the news. We got a lot of news that we've accumulated so far, so excited to share that with you guys. And yeah, next week, Mount
Definitely.
Rushmore's on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Who comes to your mind when you think of those brands? The first four people,
Exactly.
we'll tell you next week.
Oh, yeah.
As for
Thanks.
this episode, this is going to do it for the Notorious Heroes podcast, episode 4, part 1. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for everybody who stopped by. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys Friday.